All right. So we will go ahead and get started. If you all want, you are more than welcome to turn on your cameras and engage with us. We're going to have such a fun session this morning. So if you want to do that, you can. But before I turn it over to our GBL team, I would like to take a few minutes and just kind of go through the Mentimeter and highlight some of the words that you guys use to describe your experience in playing the Get a Life game. So I see we have engaging, which was one of the top ones. We also have fun. Then we have educational, exciting, interactive, and thoughtful. I can say from my personal experience of playing the Get a Life game, I actually got to play a few years back when I attended Counselor Academy as a counselor. And we were invited here to the center. We got to play the game. And my only complaint was that we had to stop playing the game because I was so into it. And as you guys probably know, there are just different obstacles that you come across that you have to kind of balance as a student. So I don't know, it really captured my attention, and I'm glad it was able to capture yours. So in saying all of that, I do want to honor everyone's time for joining us this morning. In saying that, we are going to get started. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to unmute your mic. We want this to be more of a conversational feel. So the only way we can do that is to engage. But before I ram on too much, I'm going to turn it over to Will. And he is going to get the session started.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I am Will Thompson. I am the instructional game designer for K20 GBL. So I design Get a Life and most of our other games. And I'm going to go ahead and share a presentation with you guys, and we'll kind of go through this. So give me just a second to share my screen. All right. So today we're going to be mostly talking about Get a Life. We're also going to mention one of our other games, Advance U, here in a moment. But I first would like to go through and talk about our game-based learning program in general and what all we have to offer. So today we're going to take a quick look at all of our K20 GBL games, and then we're going to talk about Get a Life, and then we're going to go through and talk about Advance U, which is our mindset game. So the K20 GBL program has been around for over 10 years now. We've developed 14 educational games that are all completely free to use for anyone, anywhere around the world. All you've got to do is sign up on our game portal platform. All of our games are standards based. They're curriculum aligned, and they include a teacher dashboard that allows you to track student progress and time on task. So here's an overview of all of our games, and I'm just going to kind of run through them real quickly. So we've got Advance U, the Talent Machine, which we'll talk about today. This is our game on mindset, growth mindset, and neuroplasticity. That's a really good one, I think, for the context that a lot of you guys are working in. We've got Deadly Distributions and Potions, which are both statistics-based games, and so these are probably good for any sort of class that involves statistics, maybe an AP class, some higher level stuff. We've got Get a Life, which we'll also talk about, which is our career and college awareness game. Macbeth is a game that was pretty interesting. We actually developed this for intelligence professionals to help identify cognitive bias. So this was a very different context. It's a really cool game, and I do invite you to check it out. It's probably not appropriate for most of your classes and kids, but it is really cool, and some of you might find a way to use it. We've had a couple high school teachers take a look at this. Then we've got the detective games, Detective Bavaria and Detective Verona. So these are other ones that I do recommend you guys check out. They are about information literacy and data interpretation. So these are really good at helping students to start that process of learning, what are good sources, what are bad sources, how to we draw conclusions from our sources of information and make decisions based on that. So that's just a really really good skill set to have, to prepare for college and just for general life. Mind Your Own Budget's probably our most popular game. So this is our financial literacy game that covers the entire passport for financial literacy standards of Oklahoma. We've got a lot of people playing that, and it's got a full curriculum to go with it. So that's definitely one you should check out. And many of you probably have heard about that one already, because that is definitely our most popular game. Mission Prime is a calculus game. This was originally designed for university students, but is also really good for anybody doing AP calculus classes. Paper Trail was another one that was originally designed for university, but we've had some people use it in some government and ethics kind of classes. It's a really cool game about understanding ethical frameworks and how the decisions you make have ethical consequences, and how to sort of stay consistent with that. Perfect Strain would be really good for any high school biology class. This is a game that touches on evolution and natural selection, and how environmental pressures cause mutation and selection and things like that. Functions of the Machine, I think, would be good for probably Calc 2 or any sort of like college track math class. So it goes into see what we call not computational, it's covariational reasoning. So how processes and systems move together. So it's just a really good reasoning game that doesn't require any specific math skills, but a lot of like math reasoning skills to get through. So those are what we have on offer right now. We also have a game on weather awareness and STEM careers coming out in this next semester, probably. So that's another thing to look forward to. But we've got lots of good stuff here, and I'm happy to share this with you and talk to you guys about any of these games if you're interested. But for now, let's talk about Get a Life. So I understand that most of you have already gotten to play Get a Life, but I'm going to go ahead and play through our little trailer here. So hopefully this works okay over Zoom, but I know things are a little bit laggy for some people. And there is audio with this. I don't know if I'm sharing my audio though. Okay. Oh, don't play again. All right. Oh, go. Next slide. Okay, there we go. All right. So the background of Get a Life is that we wanted to create a game that covered the career clusters, got people talking about their career choices and how those choices affect their options in life, not just with salary, but what kind of things you can do in the world, how comfortable you might be, or how much fun the job might be, all of the different things that go into choosing a career, and then also understanding what education is necessary to achieve that career. So to do this, we created this game that lets people survey all of these different options. It has a lot of really silly things that happen, but also a lot of really serious things that happen. So you can kind of just play through and experience these different careers and these different outcomes, and just see this idea of, the choices I make early on can really have an effect on the things that happen later. So I know a lot of you have gotten to play Get a Life already. So I was wanting to see if anybody would like to share a little bit about their experience and maybe how Get a Life can help you guys meet ICAP quality indicators, or any of your other goals that you might have. Does anybody want to share anything about it?
And I know sometimes people's microphones don't work, so you're more than welcome to use the chat as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I thought that it was really interesting to be able to look at with the different options that are ahead of you if you choose a 2-year college over a 4-year college, or choose to continue on to your master's, or just go ahead and graduate. It was interesting to see the different paths and outcomes and how it affected each character.
Yeah, that's great. It's it is interesting. We try to build in like really different paths in some of those. So some things happen to everybody. Some things happen to you a little bit differently depending on what career you're in. And the game is actually really challenging if you just don't go to college at all. If you just go straight into your career after high school, the game actually gets really challenging. So that's probably the hardest way to play. Does anybody else have any thoughts they wanted to share?
When I played, I noticed that I was not civic minded, which made me sad because I really picked it like I was doing it as if I were doing it. So anyway.
Yeah, it's a thought, and I'll go into that a little bit more when we talk about some of the lessons that we've got around this. But like one thing that we really like encouraging students to do is try for different goals. Like, maybe like play one time and see if you can make as much money as possible, play another time and see if you can kind of max out your civic or max out your comfort or whatever. So just try different things to see kind of like what goes into it, because it is kind of our first inclination is always to just kind of play to what we want to, either what we are, or what we want to be when we grow up or whatever. But then one of the strengths of this game is like getting to try all of those different other options, encouraging people to like sort of break out of what they sort of already imagine that they might want to do, and try something different.
Yeah, it really did make me want to play again to see if I could raise that up some.
Yeah. And there's certain career paths that are definitely better at it than others. They just have different opportunities, different events that pop up for them. Okay, well, let's keep going. But anybody at any time, like if you've got a question or if you've got a comment or thought, please feel free to share. So I don't actually need that slide. Okay, so going on to the lesson. So we've got a lot of really cool extra materials built around Get a Life. So one of the main things that I think will be relevant to you guys is our advisory lessons. So we've made 12 20-minute lessons designed for either one-on-one coaching or classroom use. So from pretty much all of our games, we design some lessons or curriculum to go with them. Get a Life is the only one so far that we've done lessons in this format, in addition to a sort of standard classroom format. And this was specifically requested for our counselors who usually have these short advisory lessons, and we want to get in little chunks of things. And so we've got these 12 lessons that go into different aspects of Get a Life. And I'm going to go into the longer lesson here in a minute, but this just kind of breaks it down in a way that's easier to chunk out over a few different little mini class periods. And in some of these, we've got people playing Get a Life, and some of them we've got some different just activities to do to kind of reflect on it, or a combination of those things. But all of these materials are also, freely available with the game. So going into like the bigger lesson, like I can give you some examples of some of the activities that we've got in there. So for this, we use the 5E model in all of our K20 lessons, and the first part of that is the engage. And so we've got this career roulette thing. So we've got these cards, and we actually got some of these physical cards, and we've also got PDFs that you can print out that have the career clusters, and they have each a list of 6 jobs, based on different levels of education. So we'll pass these out to students, have them go into groups, have them kind of roll a dice to see which career in that they get, and kind of fill out some questions to see what they think that particular job would be like, and what education it requires, and how much money they would look at making, and how fulfilling that is. And we try to base everything that we include in the game off of some sources that we found in different places, to make it all pretty legit. And so we get them thinking about that, and then we have them play the game, and after playing the game, they fill out this little 3-2-1 activity where we ask them some questions about how their experience in the game might relate to real life. Like, what are some ways that post-secondary education can change your life? Do you still have some questions? We want to get them thinking about what to ask and what to talk about with careers, because one of the big benefits of this game, one of the big intentions on what we wanted it to do, is get kids talking about careers. Because I mean, coming into this, I know a lot of people, they may have an idea what they want to be when they grow up, but they don't know a lot of the details of what that involves. I know I certainly didn't when I was that age, and I think most people don't. But getting that conversation going is really important. And what do you want to learn more about? So the next step in this, we've got a little handout for them to read, and as a group kind of analyze this little job fit essay, and kind of talk about that, and report out. So this is how we kind of take the information in the game and start to kind of relate it outside the game to what maybe is a fit for these characters, then what would be a fit for you, and what like really makes a job a fit for a person, whether it's money or lifestyle, or what civic benefits it could provide. And then moving into these challenges. So this is kind of where I was talking about, you can look at the different ways of playing the game and see what you can do with it. So we have students kind of like, this gives them a little bit of a guide to try some different things and see if they can meet these different achievements. So for example, one of them's, just complete a bachelor's degree. Another one is get the highest level of savings that you can in the game, because it kind of rates you on different levels of money and comfort and civic. Go to trade school and see what that's like. Become a max out your civic and see what that's like. Max out your comfort and see what that's like. Get a doctorate. Complete the game without going to college, which, like I said, is really, really challenging. And also the off the grid one, which is just a weird, fun one, which is see if you can kind of like quit your job and everything and still like make it to the end. So we want to sprinkle in some kind of silly, fun things in there, with also like these different different ways of kind of looking at the different aspects of things that might make a good job fit for you, and might be a consideration, and kind of explore everything that the game has to offer. And so in the end, the evaluate looks at, has students look at some questions and agree or disagree. And that way we can kind of get an idea of, if they've kind of changed their thoughts and positions on post-secondary education, and how they want to research that and look into it further. So that is kind of an overview of our big classroom lesson. But like I said, we've also got a version that's broken down into those little 20-minute lessons that covers a lot of this same stuff, just in a bit of a different format. We've also got some take-home lessons that we created for students that maybe are, we created these, while most people were still schooling from home, and are good for that context, or it could be good for parent nights or for a take-home activity, however you want to use it, all of that's available. And in addition to that, this game and all of our games come with a great guide that helps you with classroom reuse, provide some additional extensions. We've got so many really great materials in here to help and go along with the game, that can help you just craft whatever you need with it. So before I get into Advance U, I just wanted to see if anybody else had any other thoughts. Do you have any questions? Do you have any ideas of how you might want to implement Get a Life into your school?
Well, we did have a question in the chat from Marie.
Okay.
She wanted to know if all of this is available digitally for remote learning schools. I didn't want to say yes, and maybe there's some obstacles, but I'll let you answer that.
It's all absolutely available digitally. So the games are all accessed over the web, and so students will be able to log in anywhere to from any computer, desktop, laptop, Chromebook, computer, and access the games and play them from wherever they're at. And as a teacher, as a counselor, you can track their progress in the dashboard on our game portal website. So all of that works perfectly fine in a remote setting. All of our additional materials are in PDF format, so that you can just download. So those are all digital and easy to access from wherever you want. And I think most of the lessons, especially our take-home lessons that we created, are formatted in a way that works really well online. So I think we've got you covered in all those contexts if you're doing remote learning. Yeah.
And you should be able to find those resources in your eCadence, wherever you guys went to play the actual game. There's a little area there to where we have the resources that basically links out to our Learn account.
Okay. Does anybody else have any thoughts or questions they'd like to ask or like to share? Okay, well, I will move on then. All right, so another game I wanted to highlight for you guys is Advance U, the Talent Machine. So this is a game that, as you can see, it did win an award. So did Get a Life, actually. It won an award in 2019. This is a game that we created to focus on the idea of growth mindset and neuroplasticity. It's also a really great game for helping students kind of think through what college will be like and kind of some of the different challenges of how college works. So I'm going to play a little video here, and I'll kind of explain what's going on in this game as well. So in this, we kind of pick a character. We've got, a male and a female avatar you can choose from. And in this game, you're kind of going around talking to people. So the story of the game is that you are at a university. University professor has created this machine called the Talent Machine that is supposed to tell you exactly what you should major in, what courses you should take, so you never fail, and kind of tell you exactly what you should be in life. Well, this is obviously a terrible idea, and the students realize it's a terrible idea. And so you're going around collecting information to help kind of lobby against this and convince the university president that's a bad idea. So right now what you're seeing is the Talent Machine and the kind of questions that it asks. And we've kind of like stealthily built in a little actual mindset assessment into this process. So you can kind of see the questions they're asking there. But you'll go around and you kind of talk to different students and professors and gather resources and learn about neuroplasticity and mindset and why failure can be a good thing. And yeah, and you can see here, the first time you take this test, it's always going to tell you that you're supposed to be a janitor and you're really sad about it. And this character is Miguel. He kind of represents our performance avoidance mindset. So he's just really afraid of failure. And you kind of, through the process of the game, we're talking to him, kind of convincing him that failure is okay and it's okay to fail and try again, and that your talents and your outcomes aren't just completely fixed by one attempt at something. And then we've got another character who's the very performance approach mindset. So he's got this mindset that he's the best and that he's the greatest at everything. And if he ever fails, then that's just not something that's for him, and he's not going to try it because nobody can ever beat him. And he's got this other mindset where failure is really hard too. And then we've got another character who represents our growth mindset, who kind of understands that learning happens over time. It happens through trial and failure and trying again, and that we can absolutely change our talents and thoughts and things. And so you're going to go through this game and you're kind of building up your skills, and we use this little metaphor of gaining experience and skill points that you see in games all the time to kind of like show how our skills and our talents grow over time. And then here we're talking to this professor about growth mindset and looking at different materials that we have on the topic. And here's our we're showing that the neural connections are growing as you gain experience, and you gain more experience from failure than you do from success. So just trying and failing and then trying again is really the best way to do that. Okay, I'm going to kind of skip ahead a little bit since and it gives you some feedback on that. And we've got some nice animations and stuff. But anyway, I'll go ahead and move to the next one. So this game, like I said, uses this narrative of trying to convince the university not to go through with this talent machine project. And so we give people lots of examples of different types of mindset through the characters in the game. And we understand from what we know about mindset that this really helps people to understand the concept by seeing these kinds of examples and things. And we kind of use a conceptual change model to show students that the science behind neuroplasticity and growth mindset and goal orientation, to understand why it is true, absolutely true, that we can learn new things and change our skills and talents, and we are not fixed by our certain talents that we're born with. And we understand that teaching students these things helps them kind of accept these ideas that growth mindset is a real thing and that they can change. Nobody's just naturally good or bad at a thing, maybe a certain degree, but you can also move past that through work and effort. We use these reflection questions to kind of get them metacognitively kind of reflecting and thinking back on their own choices in the game and kind of considering how that relates to their own mindset. And then again, like I said, the metaphor of gaining experience points in the game related to growing our skills and making new neural connections in our brain. So this game, we actually did a really cool experiment with it. We did a controlled trial with 95 freshman university students. We did this trial where everybody took a pre-test to measure their growth versus fixed mindset. We had one group play the game and then take a post-test, and then we had another group sort of get like some traditional style lecture on mindset and then take a post-test. And then 6 weeks later, they both took another delayed post-test. And it was really cool because we noticed that both groups actually improved their mindset. They moved more toward a growth mindset after the treatment, after the lessons. But the students that played the game actually did a little bit better than the students in the trial. They improved. The coolest thing though was that like 6 weeks after the experiment, the lecture group had basically gone back to where they were. Like their mindset kind of like dropped back down to where it was originally, while the students that played the game maintained a lot of their gains. So we always see these kind of things, the drop off a little bit after the trial. And of course, we know that to help encourage a growth mindset requires constant, intervention from teachers and everybody in the student's life, right? But it was really impressive to see that more of the gains remained from the game play group than from the control group. So that is something we're really happy with, that we maintain more of those gains. So like our other games, Advanced U has a 5e lesson that goes with it. And I won't go into quite as much depth as I did with the Stuff for Get a Life, but it is available on our Learn website if you haven't checked out Learn, I'm sure you all have, but if you haven't, check it out. There's lots of really cool stuff on there. Yeah, that is overall what I've got. So again, does anybody have any thoughts, questions, anything you're interested in, whether it's either of these games I've presented or other games, or?
Okay, well, I would like to just jump in and say thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And again, if you have questions, we will take those now. And also, we would like for you to do our evaluation for the session today. So if you have questions, please stay and we will take them as everyone completes the evaluation. And if you do not have questions, you can exit after you complete the evaluation. And please remember that you can find all of our previous Counselor Academy Zoom session recording in your eCadence resource tab. So select the QR code that matches your grant and go with those evaluations. Ask questions if you have any, and when you are through, you may go ahead and log out.